So why choose art at GCSE? It might be that you like it or are good at it. It might be that you want to do something that is practical or creative. It could be that you'd like a job in a creative industry and you've done some research and found out that, for example, art is important for graphic design, or art, physics and mathematics are the most common combination of subjects for studying architecture. And although you may be watching this film and perhaps thinking, I can't produce work like that, well, the answer is you can. Remember, all of the students who produced this work were once where you are now thinking, should I choose art at GCSE? Am I good enough? If your teacher has spoken to you or mentioned in a report that you should or could consider art at GCSE, then you certainly have the potential to do well. Sometimes you can't yourself see your own potential or how good you really could be. GCSE Art is made up of 2 coursework projects which students complete in Year 10. The first, which is often a still life project for fine artists and a landscape project for photographers, is completed between September and February half term. The second project, where students have a choice of almost any topic, is completed between February half term and July. Then in Year 11, students have approximately half a term to improve both projects before the examination board releases a choice of about 7 or 8 topics for the examination project. Students complete the examination project between January and May in Year 11, and they produce a final piece in a 10-hour exam over 2 days in May. So this is an example of a GCSE Fine Arts student's work. There are 2 coursework projects. One is a fruit project, the other is a portrait project based on the topic of worries and concerns. And then finally you can see the examination project. This is another portrait project based on the topic of why individuals do graffiti. The work on the exhibition boards is also supported by artwork in a sketchbook or, for photography students, in a PowerPoint. If we look at the first GCSE project, we have a still life project. The project consists of 2 areas of work. Firstly, you have sketchbook work. And then finally, you have work which is presented on the display boards as part of the final GCSE exhibition. When it comes to marking the project, each project contains 4 sections. You have initial preparatory work, where candidates look at various drawing skills, coloured pencil work, painting, normally producing a double page for each, and then finally a material of the candidate's own choice, in this case fine liner. If we go back to the exhibition, you will see this first display board in the bottom left hand corner, which again reflects those materials of pencil, coloured pencil, paint and fine liner. When it comes to the sketchbook work, you have artwork, you have pictures taken by the candidates, sometimes taken from secondary sources like the internet, and then you have annotations talking about their ideas and their techniques and their materials they've used. So that first section, based on initial preparatory work, is worth 25%. Sketchbook and the work on the display boards. After that, the candidate then starts to look at his artist references. When it comes to still life project, candidates can look at a variety of artists. In this case, this candidate has started off looking at Cézanne. So it starts off with information on the artist's life. This candidate's got a very interesting way of presenting information. So pictures aren't cut out using the scissors, they are ripped out. He often puts a background colour down in his sketchbook, and then written work is placed over the top. When information is taken off the internet and simply printed out, he highlights the key points to show understanding, in addition to adding annotations. After looking at Cézanne's life, he then looks at various different types of work Cézanne produced. So still life is obviously more appropriate. We've got some portrait work, and we've got some landscape work. After this, candidates normally copy a piece of work, trying to understand Cézanne's use of paint and colour and various other techniques, and linked to that understanding is analysing a number of pieces of work. Here he's taken a piece of painting by Cézanne. He's added commentary around the outside. Some of the commentary is factual, some of it is opinionated, and then those comments, those annotations turn into a mini analysis, a short essay if you like. And here he's combined the essay with some drawing and some painting and some pictures, etc. So that'll be worth another 25%. You'll note that the artist references and written work is not presented on the exhibition wall. The next stage, or the next 25% of the project, is development work. So developing ideas based on what he's learnt from his studies of Cézanne and his initial photographs he took and the still life he set up, to developing his ideas into 2 or 3 substantial pieces of painting. So here we can see he's commenting on the various stages and the various techniques he's used in the paintings. So that's his first piece of development. And here we have his second piece of development. Again, step-by-step stages explaining the way the project has developed. And finally, if we have a look at the examples on the wall, again we have those 2 pieces of development reflected on the black sheet on the wall. And then the final part of the project is the final piece. So he's got a photograph of his final piece there. Again, he's got some artwork, some references to the colours he's used, some step-by-step stages and commentaries on how he went about producing that piece of work, and some more pieces of work and commentary showing it gradually becoming completed. And again, if we go back to looking at the final piece of work in the exhibition, you see it's framed and presented in an effective way. So generally, each piece of work which is presented onto the wall has 2 or more pages of supporting work in the sketchbook, and then some of the more major pieces, the development and the final piece, have maybe 4 pages, but again certainly 2 pages of development work, artwork, commentary and photographs. That gives you an idea of what a final GCSE project contains. So here we see an example of a photography project. It's produced on a PowerPoint. Student starts off with information about the project, a statement, then goes on to some brainstorming, initial research on fine art photography, where the student is collecting ideas, go straight into photoshoot 1, which is based on photography produced in Salford Keys. Here he's selecting the best photographs possibly to develop. Then starts looking at the work of a photographer who is going to influence him. Analysing some of the photography work. Looking at some of the characteristics which he finds interesting, and then developing and editing his own photographs, taking screenshots when he's using programs like Lightroom and Photoshop. And these are his final images. Goes on to photoshoot 2. Here he's looking at more close-up architectural details. Again, selecting the best images to develop. Looking at some relevant artists and photographers who do close-up work, macro photography, and then editing and developing the work to come up with a series of images. Photoshoot 3. Again, based on Salford Keys. This one's focused in on bridges and the architectural features and structure of them. Best images selected. Looking at a particular artist. Developing and editing his work. Then these distinctive black and white final images. And then finally for photoshoot 4, we have him looking at some artwork. Photographers often look at artists who are interested in movement in their work. Then he's looking at this photographer in detail, again analysing his work, editing experiments, and then he's gone from Salford Keys into Manchester to take some work and photos around Chinatown, selecting images from his contact sheets, editing them, developing them, to come up with a series of final images which show a strong sense of movement. When it comes to photography work, again, the final images will be printed out and displayed on the exhibition boards.